Hello, today I have the lovely Gail with me. Hi, Gail. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Dana. Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Gail Olmsted. I'm an author. Writing is my third career, essentially, probably, hopefully my last one too. I studied marketing as an undergrad, and I really, I just love the field. I still do. So I started working in marketing in the telecommunications field. I did that for years. And then when my children were quite small, I really didn't want to do the travel anymore, and the job was just a little too demanding. So I switched to teaching marketing at the college level. And I did that full time for 24 years. And I just, I retired from full-time teaching last spring. So now I started writing about 10 years ago, seriously writing and working on books. And so now I pretty much do that full-time, although I still do teach marketing classes for a handful of colleges online. So that's, so it's very flexible in terms of when I'm, required to, be at my computer or whatever, and when I can spend time talking to you. So yeah.
Did you always know you wanted to write?
I really didn't. My oldest friend swears that I said as a teenager, I'm going to write a book someday. I honestly do not remember saying that, but I would trust her memory over mine. So I must have. But yeah, I mean, when I was in marketing, I wrote, radio commercial scripts and reports and, things of that nature. And then teaching, of course, I was always writing lesson plans and essays and things like that. So, but creative writing is it just kind of came to me one day. We took a family vacation to Sedona, Arizona, which is still among to me the most beautiful places I've ever been. And it just inspired me, and I kind of got this image in my mind of this woman who decides to kind of relocate, start her life over again in Sedona. And I thought, if there was a place you were going to have a do-over in your life, that would be where you'd want to do it. So that really is what got me started on this whole journey, I guess. And I'm working on my sixth book right now. So it's very fulfilling. I enjoy it. I enjoy, like we were saying before, I enjoy meeting other writers, talking about the craft of writing and the marketing side of it too. So but no, I didn't always know I was going to be a writer. It came to me late in life.
And what made you decide to write in the genre that you write in?
Well, my first four books were contemporary. And I guess you'd call them contemporary women's fiction. I don't know. I don't really love that term, but my main characters are women, and the themes that I tend to explore tend to be, I think, more appealing to women in general. But that being said, my fifth book that just came out 6 weeks ago is historical. And although it was a departure for me to write in, I had to do a lot of research. The book is Landscape of a Marriage. It is the story of landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted, who is known in America, at least, as the father or grandfather of landscape architecture. He's the first person back in the 1850s, so 170 years ago, that really saw the need for public parks. And he was inspired by the parks that he saw. in Europe, particularly the People's Park in Liverpool was one of his inspirations. So this story is it's historical fiction, but it's based on real people. He was a lifelong bachelor. Everybody assumed he was never going to be married, and his younger brother died from tuberculosis. So Fred turned around and married his late brother's widow. Her name was Mary. And I think it was fairly common back then to protect the children and the assets and the family name. But he adopted her 3 children, and together they had 4 more. So I just thought, what was her story? You know, like what did she think about all this? Because there's been tons of books written about him, wonderful biographies and stories, mostly nonfiction. But very little was really known about her. So Landscape of a Marriage is historical, and it's the story of their marriage, their life together for more than 40 years, but it's told from her perspective. It's her side of things, which is going to be, of course, very different from his perspective. So, and I should say that the inspiration for them, particularly as a couple, my husband is related. My last name, my married name is Olmsted, same as Frederick Olmsted. So for years, people would like, you know, I'd introduce myself and people say, "Oh, are you related to that Olmsted?" And I would ask my husband, and we were like, we don't really know very much about him. So when I started doing research, I just thought, wow, this sounds like a good opportunity for a story. So, but even though it's historical, to me, the theme that I seem to keep going back to in all of my books, including this new one, the sixth one, that's so hard to say, that I'm writing, is all about second chances and starting over and having an opportunity for a do-over in your life if you're not satisfied where you're at, to have the strength or the desire to kind of do a restart. So even though, like I said, this last one is historical, the same themes, I just continue to explore those in different ways.
Awesome. Out of all the books you've written so far, do you have a favorite character?
Oh, well, I love Mary Olmsted. I find her to be, she was a very practical woman in terms of she knew what she needed to do to support her 3 children when she was only 28 when she was widowed, and she had 3 small children. So she knew she needed to do something. Marrying her brother-in-law was not the first thing that she thought of, but she was a very practical person and knew what she needed to do. I envisioned this love story between them. I just thought, from what I knew about Mary, I didn't think she would want a marriage in name only. You know, I thought she wanted a second chance at a real happy ever after, more of a romance or a real connection in the marriage. So I love her, and she's one of those people. She's going to stay with me, for forever. So yeah, so I guess she's my new favorite. A year ago it was a different favorite, but today she's my favorite.
Out of all the books you've written so far, what's the most fun scene that you've written, and what's been the most difficult?
Oh, okay. Probably my favorite scene in it's my second book. It's called, the title is Guessing at Normal. And it's the story of a young woman working at a motel, kind of not sure what she wants to do with her life. She's still very young and kind of floundering. And this up and coming rock star and his band check into the motel, and they have a moment that becomes a one-night stand, that becomes her joining them on the road. And they have this very kind of tumultuous relationship. goes on for years. But my favorite scene was she decides to bring him home to meet her family. And she has a very dysfunctional family. That's where the term guessing at normal comes from. It's a term that a lot of children who grow up in alcoholic households or dysfunctional households, there's no guidebook, there's no recipe for how to live your life. They're just guessing at what a normal relationship would be. And I grew up in a household like that myself. So I understand that very well. But so Jill brings James, her boyfriend, home to meet her family. And because of propriety and everything, he bunks in with her brother, and she wakes up in the morning and she hears laughter and people talking and not arguing and not fighting. And she's laying there in bed thinking, where am I? Like, what's going on? She's so used to this kind of chaotic, angry household. And so she comes downstairs and James is entertaining the family. One of her girlfriends comes over. Everybody's talking. They're having pancakes and laughing. And she's just sitting there. And although I think she's happy, she's kind of confused and she's kind of mad. Like, this isn't a house you're supposed to have fun in. Like, what the heck is going on here? And she's almost envious of the fact that he was able to come in and just create this happy moment. And she's sitting there like, oh, why is, so that's my favorite scene. I don't know. I just can picture her like standing in the hallway, listening with this like disbelief that they're actually, people are in the next room having fun. And she's not. But so that was a fun one to write, because like I said, I could just picture her so well. Probably any scene in any of the books where there's been a loss, a death, especially of somebody younger, without any spoilers, that's occurred in a couple of books. And though that's very, very hard for me to write. In fact, one chapter from Landscape of a Marriage, I could read it today, and even though I've read it 20 times, proofreading it or whatever, or editing it, I would still burst into tears. And not because it's so well written, but just because the idea of what this woman is going through, what this family is going through, just makes me just really tear up. So anything like that to me is challenging, is hard to do.
Do you hide any secret jokes or messages in your books, or any Easter eggs?
All the time. All the time. I throw in little snippets from my kids, stories that they've told, just awkward things, growing up. My fourth book is Second Guessing, which is a follow-up of Guessing at Normal. This is years later now. Jill has a second chance at a happy ever after, and she falls in love with a young man, and I named his parents after friends of ours, a couple, and it's not towards the end that their names are introduced. And my friend Betsy called me and said, I can't believe you wrote Betsy and Joel as the mother and father. And I said, I had to. It's just so yeah, I get a big kick out of those things that most people just don't pick up on. But once in a while, a friend, even a friend from high school, will say, hey, wasn't that what happened? So yeah, so I entertain myself very well with those little little side jokes or whatever. That's fun.
I love that.
Me too.
Do you have any fears or phobias, and would you write about them?
Not too much. Mostly, well, I think lately, the whole, since the whole COVID thing, I'm not as comfortable in crowds as I used to be. And I have a feeling that's going to come through in the book I'm writing now. This woman is kind of just kind of thrown into this new situation. And although I'm not going to talk about COVID in the book, I'm not going to have them wearing masks or whatever. I just read a book where it didn't have to be a big part of the storyline, but it became one. And I actually found it kind of just annoying that, you know, she walked in and adjusted her mask and then she went over, you know, it just, I don't know. I mean, that could be the way things are for a long time to come, but I don't know, unless it's part of the plot, to me, it just seems silly. So, but I have a feeling that there's going to be something with her. Her name is Miranda. I think Miranda is going to have a bit of an issue with going out and big crowds of people or whatever. Just she's had a lot happen to her, and I have a feeling that's going to, you know, kind of be where that story is going to come from, or that, you know, kind of plot little, you know, twist is going to come from.
When you're editing your books, what's your most overused word or phrase? What do you get told off for?
I say literally a lot, and my characters say literally a lot. And yeah, it has to be, it has to be taken out. I probably also use the word that a lot. She went into the room, or she, you know, she wore the dress that had been, and I never know whether I should pull that word that out or leave it in, because sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes a comma would be better. So I probably use the word that more than anything, yeah, or literally. Those are my two.
I love it. Every author knows just like that all the time. They don't have to think about it. They know exactly what their word is.
Definitely.
It does make me laugh. We were talking before we started recording about how supportive the community is. So have you made a lot of author friends since you started writing?
I have. In fact, I'm going to be having dinner with one of them tonight. She's my friend. Her name is BJ Knapp. She's awesome. She, we had the same publisher years ago, which is a whole publishing journey. It's like a whole nother story, but we had the same publisher, and we met at like a panel or something in New York City, and we just kind of clicked. And she lives in Rhode Island and I'm in Massachusetts. We're only just over an hour apart, actually. So we meet halfway for dinner every, you know, several weeks or so. And so I'm going to meet her tonight for dinner, which I'm very excited about. She said she has she just texted me before and said she has a new angle on something I can do with Miranda, my new character. So I'm like, yeah, you know, so we're both nerds. We talk about marketing and we talk about writing and we talk about, you know, I mean, our families, but it's mostly what we're, you know, doing. And a few other authors I've met in, you know, in face-to-face at local book shows or local craft fairs or whatever. But mostly just the online community has just been so helpful. And like we were saying, just supportive and, you know, offering resources. I mean, I could put a blurb, which is one of the hardest, the back cover copy for a book. To me, it's one of the hardest things to write. I can write 90,000 words, but tell me I have to write 120 for a, you know, for a paragraph. And but I could put something up on one of these Facebook groups and ask for suggestions. And literally within an hour, I have 30 or 40 people that take the time to rewrite it or rethink it or offer suggestions, literally from all over the world. I mean, it's phenomenal. And I would do the same thing for them, of course, but it's just, it's amazing. It's just not competitive, because books are like that. If you read a good book, you're likely to buy another book or recommend another book. And it's not like so many other, you know, packaged goods that once you buy it, it's like, well, I'm stuck with this for, you know, 3 years. It's books are fun like that. So it, yeah, very, very nice group, just helpful, supportive, offering you whatever you need at the moment. So it's been nice. People like yourself.
My best. And who would you most fangirl over meeting, author-wise?
Well, I like I love Stephen King, which is kind of bizarre because I mean a lot of his books are more the, you know, the monsters and thrillers, but I just like the way he writes real people in you know, strange situations. I don't care so much for some of the supernatural stuff, the, you know, the mystical kind of things, but just the everyday people that find themselves in unusual situations. I just think I think he's just phenomenal. So yeah, he would probably be my, if I, you know, could sit down with another author or whatever, he would probably be the one. I've been outside of his house, so I'm a bit of a stalker. He lives in Maine and has an unusual house with like gargoyles and stuff, but I would never like go up and knock on the door. I wouldn't go that far. But yeah, he would probably be the one I would fangirl all over.
Yeah, same. This literally the only reason I'm going to bloody Scotland at the weekend is because he's appearing via, you know, technology, but I don't care. You know, he's going to be speaking to us, and I think we can ask questions and things as well. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Oh, that sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah, and Kathy Reichs as well, who is another author hero of mine. She's appearing too.
She writes the is it the medical twist, right?
Forensic anthropology.
Yes, that's what, yes. Yeah, I've read a couple of books. Yeah, so good.
Yeah, she is part of the reason I ended up doing a forensic science degree from reading her books. Yeah.
Wow, my daughter used to talk about she loved CSI and one of the other ones, and just loved the whole idea of, you know, the investigation part of it. Didn't end up pursuing it, but for a time I thought that might be something that she would, you know, she would do. So,
yeah, it's nothing like that.
No, I know. No. It's not all solved in 42 minutes of of TV time. No, definitely not.
You don't get to work with David Boreanaz, which is a real shame.
That would make the job a little bit more interesting, I think.
Oh yeah,
a lot of tedious, you know, just sitting and looking at, you know, not like on TV.
Sadly, but yeah, there we go. But yeah, it was fun. There are fun things, so it's cool. But no David Boreanaz, which sucks, and can't have everything, I guess.
It's something to shoot for, you know, something to hope for.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. It's way out of anyone's league, actually. So do you get a lot of feedback from your readers?
I do. Yeah, I mean, besides, you know, sales numbers, which is feedback of a, you know, of a sort. Yeah, I do. It's amazing to me how challenging it is to get reviews. So for all the readers out there, if you've read a good book, leave a review, even just a short one or a rating. It means the world. And that's probably been the biggest surprise for me, is how challenging it is to see those reviews. But I did get a very nice email shortly after Landscape of a Marriage came out. A young man wrote to me and said, you know, this is the kind of book my mother would love. If you have the time, would you be able to, you know, sign a book to her and send it to her? She lives in Connecticut. And, you know, I'll Venmo you the money and the shipping and everything like that. But, you know, if you have the time, it's like, yeah, I think I have the time to write, you know, a nice note to this woman whose son thought of her enough. So things like that. Yeah, it's or if I'm at I was at a bookstore speaking this past weekend, and I had a number of people come by and just say, you know, like, oh, I read your last book, I haven't read this one yet, or whatever. And it's just, yeah, it just means the world, you know, because writing is such a, it can be such a solitary pursuit, and you don't get a lot of, you know, feedback, except maybe from your editor. So it, yeah, it just means the world. Those emails are just a, you know, a quick note or whatever. It's so easy to do, and I try to make a point of doing that for books that I've enjoyed, and just, you know, letting them know that it was great. I loved how you did this or that, and that's all you need. That's all I need.
Yeah, I know it's something that I try and push as well, but I don't know why people don't, although I was guilty of it until I started to get to know how important it was. But
And
yeah,
how easy it is, you know, I mean,
yeah,
you don't have to write a thesis. It's just you know, a quick paragraph, and again, even just a rating, just to kind of bump some enthusiasm. It really, it means the world. It means the world.
yeah. So in your free time, what do you enjoy doing?
Well, I love anything to do with the water. We moved several years ago after we're empty nesters, and we moved to a house on a lake in central Massachusetts. And so every, you know, 7 or 8 months out of the year, the lake is not frozen, and it's very usable for kayaking or sailing, just, you know, boating, floating. I like to knit. I love to read, obviously, is my big thing. And I've gotten into audiobooks in a big way, because I can knit as I'm listening to an audiobook and looking out the window, or sitting on the deck looking at the water. So it's like multitasking, but it's all just very relaxing. So, and I hope to start traveling again one of these days. Haven't done anything for, you know, a year and a half, like a lot of people, but I think that's going to start to change. So yeah.
Is that international travel, or is that the other 20 states that you haven't been to yet?
Yeah, the other, probably the other, my sister-in-law is having a big anniversary party in California in January. So I think we are going to head out that way and make a extended stay out of it. Our daughter lives in California also, so we'll get to see her. So that'll probably be the first. We have a trip planned for later this fall, but I don't know, I just don't have a good feeling about it. I have a feeling it's going to get canceled. So I think the California trip might be the first big one, and it'll be nice to see, you know, see family and that we haven't gotten to see. So, yeah, it'll be nice.
And where would be your top international destination if we were free?
I love Ireland. My third book is Driving on the Left, and it's a mother-daughter trip through Ireland to celebrate the daughter's graduation from college. And it's based very loosely on a trip my daughter and I took when she graduated from college. And I just, I would probably start in Dublin for a day or two, and then I'm done, hit the southern coast, and end up out on the west coast, Galway. I love the west coast of Ireland. I would probably stay there for as long as I could. Yeah, I think it's just beautiful. I mean, I love England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, but Ireland, and that I'm also Irish, so something about the stories, the music, the jokes, the films, the books, you know, it just resonates with me.
And for me, it's the accent as well. I love the Irish accent.
Oh yeah, I could listen. Yeah, you could read from the phone book, and I'd be like, oh, listen, you know, yeah, that would be fine with me.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Yeah, I've got a couple of Irish author friends, and yeah, it's fun to talk to them. As long as they don't talk too fast.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, just listen to them for forever.
If you're able to travel to any period of time, forward or backwards, where would you like to go to?
Wow. I was never a big fan of history, actually, which I probably shouldn't admit since I just wrote a historical novel. But the way the way history was taught in school when I was in school a while ago was just memorizing dates and not really understanding what happened. Now that I've done a few years actually of research for Landscape of a Marriage, I think the second half of the 19th century in the United States, post-Civil War, would be very interesting. The women's suffrage movement, the gold rush, all the, the invention of the telephone, all the things going on in, with the communities, with the building of parks, or, large urban parks. I think that would be very interesting to be part of that time, but I'd never want to go forward in time. Like I'd never want to go to, whatever's, that I'll take one day at a time. That's fine. I'm in no rush. No rush at all.
No, funnily enough, most people aren't actually. They're quite happy to let the future unfold as or when, they're fine. Everyone wants to go back generally.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to know everything that's going to happen to us. I don't think that would be useful information at all. So I'm happy to just kind of wake up and see what the day, how the day unfolds. That's fine with me.
If you were to be a fictional villain for a day, who would you be?
Oh, fictional villain. I don't know. Fictional villain. I mean, I read so many. I'm listening to This Tender Land right now. It's William Kruger Kent, I want to say. And there's a villain in there. It's a woman who runs this state-run school or orphanage. And she's just this horrible woman. And you think to yourself, like, how could anybody be that way? So I can't even imagine. I guess maybe her, just because I think her name is Miss Bramfield or something like that. She's just this, they call her the Black Witch because she's just so evil, the kids that live in the orphanage. So I don't know, it might be fun to be that way for like an hour, but then I'd have to turn into, somebody nice and give them all sweets and cookies and hugs and stuff like that. It just wouldn't be in my nature to be able to hold that on for very long. It'd be probably fun for a short while, but it wouldn't be my first thing at all.
And if you were to be a character in a book, how would you kill your victims if you were a murderer or a serial killer?
If I was a murderer, slow and painful and they never saw it coming, and then they're just dying a slow, painful death. I figure if they're good enough or bad enough to want to kill, then they've got to suffer for it, for whatever they did. I don't know what they would do that would make me want to kill them, but I would want it to be slow and painful. So maybe like poison. Yeah, because I wouldn't want to get my hands dirty or like knives or stuff like that. No, I think poison would be good because then I could just sit back and watch,
It's perhaps scary, especially for your husband, of how quickly you knew that answer.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I don't know. It just came to me out of, it's amazing how much you can, kind of muster up really, really quickly without giving it too much thought. But it's
no hesitation there at all. Yep, poison him. That's it. Done. Okay.
You made me do it. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, that would be it. Because like I said, I just don't like to get my hands dirty. So I wouldn't want to do anything like strangling or, knives or blood or anything. Just, slow, painful.
Yeah. Some poisons can be pretty awful, can't they? So yeah, that would make them suffer. So yeah, I agree. Although when I was asked a question, I said I'd stab them 100 times.
Whoa. I don't think I'd have I think after a couple of times I'd lose interest and be like, oh, I have a cramp on my hand. I just can't, Yeah, no. It'd be easy for me and hard for them.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, and I don't know why 100, but it was there and it was out, and yeah, that was my answer. So there we
Oh,
go.
and that's a valid answer. It's a good one.
Yeah,
Neither one of us
lot of
would be in
fame.
that position, I'm sure, but just in case.
I hope not.
I know.
Yeah.
Then it'll look premeditated because they'll find this tape and say, see, she thought about that, back in September of 2021.
Yeah, before that even.
Yeah, before that, definitely.
Yeah. It's funny how your brain works, and like, stabbing, poison, whatever, it's fine. Are you working on anything at the moment, and do you know what's coming next for you?
I am working on, my current work in progress is, it's back to a contemporary fiction again. I think unless I find a story that is really compelling to me, or a point in time in history or an event that would make me want to go back there, I think my natural inclination is to stay, more contemporary. But yeah, I've got a character. Her name is Miranda. She is a district attorney, but she loses a case, a very high profile case, when a witness of hers disappears. So she's, they need to have a scapegoat, someone to blame for this, because it was a high profile case. So she's not like fired, but just like asked to leave. And so she's licking her wounds and feeling sorry for herself for a while, sleeping on her father's couch and drinking wine and eating ice cream and just, kind of feeling sorry for herself. And then she decides it's time for a second chance, a second opportunity to kind of reclaim her future. And this witness shows up again. So, which provides all kinds of complications, because in addition to losing her job, she also lost the man she was involved with. I hate to say boyfriend when they're like 40 something years old, but her partner, she loses him because of some other strange things, and a place to live. So within a week, she's lost her job, her partner, and her home. So she has a lot to make up for. And so this is an opportunity for her to kind of, again, reclaim that, her future. But this witness shows up, which complicates things for everybody involved. So I would say I'm probably about halfway through the first draft. I'm anxious to see what my friend BJ has in store for me tonight, because she said she has some ideas for Miranda. So it's like, yes, so that'll be good. I'll keep you posted though.
Yes, definitely. Well, you may be pleased to know I don't have any more questions for you, unless you think there's anything I haven't asked you about that you want to tell us.
I just touched very briefly on publishing. And so just for a second, just to share my whole journey, because when I wrote my first book, Jeep Tour, based in Sedona, like I said, I started really getting serious about it about 10 years ago. And after I finished it, I thought, okay, good. Now I'm just going to find some publishing house that will publish it for me. And, just like that, it'll just happen. And of course, that didn't happen. So I ended up self-publishing. And then for my second book, I found a publisher, and they published my second book. And then they went back and republished my first book. Everything's going well. They're about to publish my third book, and they went out of business. So I had to get the rights back for all three books, self-publish them again. Then my fourth book, I found a new publisher. They went out of business. I don't blame myself or take any responsibility. I think it's just the times, that we live in. So I had to get the rights back for that. So my first four books are all self-published. And now I have an author, I have a publisher, Black Rose Writing. They've been wonderful. They published Landscape of a Marriage, again, just about 6 weeks ago in the end of July. And I am going to give them the first opportunity to publish my next book when that becomes available, hopefully early next year. I'm hoping that I'm going to be done at least with, most of the edits by then. So the publishing journey has been an interesting one with lots of ups and downs and twists and things. And I think for any author, I think the best thing is just to make sure you're aware of what your options are, and don't be too quick to sign something just to get that publisher, because I know a lot of people who have self-published that are wildly successful. And so it's, it's not necessary. It has advantages in terms of distribution and things, but yeah, so that's been an interesting journey over the
it sounds
years. So I'm hoping for just some stability in that field for a while now. No more twists and turns. I just want it to be, smooth sailing.
Well, yeah, third time lucky, right?
Oh, I think you just froze up on me, but
I'd say third time lucky for your publishers.
yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, third time's the charm.
Well, let's hope so.
Hopefully, yeah, I know.
So before we go, would you just like to remind everyone of where they can get your books from and where they can find out more about you?
Sure. The easiest way where everything is my website. It's gailolmsted.com, and it's just Gail Olmsted. Well, I'm seeing it on the screen here, but I'm not sure if anybody's going to see that. It's gailolmsted.com. That would be probably the easiest place, but all of my books are on Amazon, on Kindle. 2 of my books are in audio books, and Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Target. I find them anywhere basically, but yeah, pretty easy to find.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Donna. It was so nice to talk to you today. I really appreciate everything you do for authors. Your enthusiasm and support is really, it's spectacular. Thank you.
Thank you.